The jungle was silent, except for the soft hum of alien insects in the trees. Thick vines curled around broken rocks, and the air was heavy with fog. Reed, a human explorer, walked slowly through the unknown land. He had been hired to map this part of the alien planet, but something in his gut told him this place was not normal. His boots crunched over red leaves as he stepped into a small clearing. There, in the center, he saw her. A girl, young, thin, and clearly alien, was sitting. On the ground, her arms and legs were chained to a black stone, her mouth tied shut with a glowing cloth. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly in the shadows, and her eyes, wide and wild, stared at him like a wounded animal. Reed froze. The girl didn't cry or move. She just looked at him, as if waiting to see what kind of creature he was. She looked starved, maybe injured, but something else was strange. Around her, no animals moved. Even the wind seemed afraid to touch her. Reed lowered his weapon and stepped closer. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked gently. She didn't respond, just gave a low growl through the gag. He crouched and studied the chain's alien tech, pulsing with energy. Someone had locked her here on purpose. "Who did this to you?" he asked. Still no answer. He looked around, then made a quick decision. He pulled out his survival knife and started cutting through the glowing cloth tied around her mouth. "Don't scream," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." The cloth fell, and she gasped in fresh air, then hissed. Before he could react, she lunged. Her sharp alien teeth sank into his wrist. Deep and fast, Reed shouted and fell back. Blood dripped from his hand, but the girl wasn't attacking more. She stared at him, confused, horrified even. He expected to feel burning, poison, or his body shutting down. But nothing happened. He stood up slowly, his hand bleeding, but his heart still beating. "Was that your defense?" he muttered, a venom bite. She backed away, her voice weak. "You should be dead," she whispered, eyes wide in shock. Reed blinked. "What? My bite?" "It kills any alien," she said, shaking. "One bite, and they all fall dead." "But you're still alive." Reed looked at his wrist, then at her. The bite hurt. Yes, but it didn't feel deadly. "What's your name?" he asked, breathing hard. She hesitated, then whispered, "Vera." Reed nodded. "Okay, Vera." "I'm Reed." He looked at the chains again. "You want to get out of here?" She stared at him, confused, like no one had ever asked her that before. "I'm cursed," she said. "My own people left me here to die." "They fear me." Reed laughed softly. "Well, I'm human. And I don't believe in curses." Using a small cutting tool from his pack, he began working on the chains. They were tight, but some parts had started rusting. Vera watched him silently, her expression changing from fear to confusion. Then something softer. No one had ever helped her before, not without fear. Not without calling her a monster. One chain snapped, then another. Finally, she was free. She stood shakily, her legs weak, but she didn't fall. Her eyes never left his face. "Why? Why didn't you die?" she asked again, as if it made no sense. "I don't know," Reed replied. "Maybe your venom doesn't work on humans." Vera looked down at her hands, then at the wound she caused. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought you were going to hurt me." Reed gave her a small smile. "You bit me first. So, technically, I should be the one scared." Vera gave a tiny laugh, barely a sound. But it was real. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the trees, a loud clicking sound. Vera's eyes widened in panic. "They're coming," she whispered. "They saw you touch me. They won't let us live." Reed turned toward the sound, raising his weapon again. "Then we run," he said firmly. "Stay close." He grabbed her hand, and they ran into the fog together. The cursed girl and the immune human now, bound by a single bite, and behind them. The jungle woke up. The jungle swallowed them whole. Reed ran first, pulling Vera by the hand. Behind them, the strange clicking sounds grew louder. Raelian trackers. Coming fast. The fog wrapped around the trees like ghosts. But Reed didn't stop. He didn't look back. Vera, barefoot and weak, stumbled but didn't fall. Her chains had left marks, but her feet still moved. Something inside her had changed since biting the human. She felt it like fire in her blood. And it scared her more than anything else. They reached a small ridge, hidden by roots and vines. Reed crouched, motioned for her to stay quiet. They waited, hearts racing. 2 tall alien hunters passed by the ridge. Armored, scanning the air. They didn't see them. When the footsteps faded, Vera whispered, "You should be dead." Her voice shook. "I bit you. You should have died in seconds." Reed looked at his wrist, still wrapped in a cloth torn from his shirt. It bled a little, but the skin around it wasn't rotting. No burning, no swelling. "Maybe your venom doesn't work on humans," he said again. Calm, but curious. Vera leaned closer, sniffed the wound. "No?" "It reacted," she whispered, "but different." She looked at her own hands. A strange glow pulsed under her skin, almost golden instead of blue. "Something is changing inside me," she said. Voice soft. Reed nodded slowly. "Like what?" She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "I don't feel poisoned anymore." Her people called her cursed because of her bite. But now the poison had turned to something else. "I think your blood did something to mine," she said. Reed sat back against a rock, breathing slowly. He had heard of alien viruses, mutations, hybrids, but never something like this. His body felt normal strong. Even no fever, no hallucinations. "Tell me," he asked gently. "Why were you chained like that?" Vera looked down, her voice turning cold. "My clan said I was born wrong." She said they tested me when I was young. I bit one of them, and he died screaming, her fists clenched. They said I carried a blood curse, a monster's venom. They locked me away to protect themselves. Reed stayed quiet, letting her speak. "But you didn't die," she said, eyes narrowing. "Why didn't you die?" Reed shrugged lightly. "Maybe humans are weirder than you thought." Vera almost smiled, but it faded quickly. "You should leave me," she said. "They'll kill you if they see you with me." Reed didn't answer. Instead, he unwrapped the cloth from his wrist, revealing the bite. The skin had healed faster than normal. A faint golden ring circled the wound, glowing like hers. "Too late for that." He said, "I think I'm already part of your story." A deep growl echoed nearby. Vera turned, her eyes sharp. "They're not alone," she whispered. "They brought trackers." Reed stood, loading his weapon. "We keep moving," he said. "There's a supply pod not far from here. Shelter, maybe tools." They moved through the thick undergrowth, branches slashing their faces. Vera began walking stronger, now faster. "Lighter," Reed noticed. "You're getting faster." "I don't feel tired," she replied, surprised. "I haven't eaten in 2 days, but I feel awake." Something was definitely happening. Her venom had changed, and now it was changing her. She could see farther, hear more. Even Reed's heartbeat felt loud to her now. They reached a clearing with a downed pod, half buried in vines and dirt. Reed forced the door open, checking inside, old but usable food packs. A first aid kit, a stunner, and a basic medical scanner. He sat Vera down and turned on the scanner. "Let's see if you're still cursed," he said. The screen lit up, blinking strange symbols. Vera's blood levels were unstable but not poisonous, instead of venom markers. It showed regenerative enzymes. "What does it mean?" she asked nervously. Reed stared at the screen, then at her. "I don't think you're cursed anymore," he said. "I think your bite heals now." She blinked, speechless. "No, that can't be." She whispered, "It killed. Always." Reed nodded slowly until it met human blood, suddenly. A blast hit the pod's side. The door cracked and smoke poured in. The hunters had found them. "Move!" Reed shouted, pulling her out through the emergency hatch. They rolled down a hill into the trees, just as another shot shattered the pod behind them. "They won't stop," Vera gasped. "I know," Reed said, "but we're not running." "Any more." He raised the stunner and handed her the other. Vera looked at it, then at her glowing hands. "I'm not a monster," she whispered. More to herself than him. "No," Reed said firmly. "You're something new." And in that moment, Vera knew her bite didn't end his life. It began something else entirely, a connection deeper than blood. And now, the galaxy would have to face both of them, together. They didn't rest that night. The jungle around them was alive with danger-growling beasts in the shadows, glowing eyes watching from the trees. But that wasn't what scared Vera. What scared her was the clicking sound, sharp, cold, and getting closer. That sound meant her people were coming. Not to rescue, but to erase her. To them, she was a mistake. A danger that must be destroyed before others learned the truth. Her venom could change. Her curse might actually be a gift. Reed and Vera moved through the thick brush. The human led the way, flashlight dimmed to avoid attention behind him. Vera stayed close, her eyes scanning the dark. Her steps quieter than ever, she felt. Faster now, more aware, like the bite had unlocked something inside her. But she was afraid to speak, afraid of what that meant. Reed noticed her silence. "You okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, then whispered, "They won't stop. Reed, they saw you survive me. That breaks everything they believe." Reed kept walking, but glanced back at her. "Good," he said. "Then maybe it's time someone broke their beliefs." Suddenly, a sharp whistle cut through the air. Vera froze, eyes wide. "That's a calling tone," she whispered. "Clan hunters use it to signal a trap." Reed crouched low, scanning with his nightscope. To the left, shadows moved, 3 figures, armored, fast, and deadly. They had plasma spears and cloaking masks. They were surrounding them slowly, like wolves. "We can't outrun them forever," Vera said, voice trembling. "They'll chase us across the planet." Reed tapped the scanner from the broken pod. "There's a hill up ahead with an old tower," he said. "If we reach it, I can signal my team." Vera hesitated. "My people know that tower," she whispered. "They'll expect us to go there." Reed smiled. "Then let's give them what they expect." He reached into his satchel, pulled out a small explosive pack. "I've got a surprise waiting for them." They moved quickly, sticking to shadows. The tower was tall and broken, wires hanging like vines, but it still had power, just barely. Inside, the control panel sparked, blinking weakly. Reed knelt and began working, fingers fast over the keys. Vera stood guard, her glowing hands ready. She could smell them now, the hunters, her own people, and with that smell came memories. Memories of chains, of cages, of voices calling her cursed and filthy. She bit her lip to push back the fear. She wasn't that girl anymore. "Almost got it," Reed said, sweat on his brow. Suddenly, a spear smashed through the window, narrowly, missing his head. Then came the hunters, leaping through the walls like ghosts. One aimed straight at Vera, but she didn't run. She moved faster than ever before. She ducked low, then struck with her palm, glowing gold. The hunter flew back and hit the wall, unconscious. Another lunged, slashing. Reed tackled him to the ground and jammed the stunner to his neck. Electric sparks burst out as the alien fell limp. Only one remained, the leader taller than the others. Cloaked in black bone armor, he removed his mask and spoke. "You are a mistake, Vera," he growled. "Your blood is poison. Your life Is shame? Vera stood tall, stepping between Reed and the hunter. I'm not poison anymore, she said quietly. He survived my bite. My venom has changed. I have changed. The hunter's eyes narrowed. That's why we must end you now. Before others see what you are, he threw a small dart fast as lightning. It struck her arm, and she gasped in pain, falling to her knees. Vera. Reed shouted, pulling her behind the console. He aimed his weapon, fired. But Mr. Hunter was too fast. Then Reed did something insane. He pulled the cloth off his healing wrist and pressed his blood to her wound. Vieira's eyes widened as the gold glow returned to her skin. The pain stopped, the poison stopped. She stood up, her voice stronger than before. You can't control me anymore, she said to the hunter. You feared my venom before, but now you fear what I'm becoming. And with one glowing strike, she hit the floor with both palms, sending a shockwave that cracked the wall. The hunter flew back, unconscious. Reed stared, stunned. What was that? He whispered. Vera looked down at her hands, glowing brighter than ever. I don't know, she said. But it started when I bit you. Reed nodded slowly. You're not cursed. He said, you're evolving. Behind them, the cum tower lit up. Signal pulsing, Reed's team had received the call. Help was on the way. But now, they weren't just running. They had a message to deliver. The cursed girl had survived. And the one thing meant to kill the human had only made him stronger. Together, they were becoming something the galaxy wasn't ready for. Asterisk, the signal had been sent. Reed's rescue team was on the way, but Reed and Vera didn't feel safe, not yet. They sat inside the broken tower, surrounded by the bodies of the hunters. The floor was cracked where Vera had unleashed her glowing strike, and her hands still pulsed with strange golden light. She sat against the wall, quiet, her legs pulled up to her chest. Reed checked his gear, but kept looking at her. He could see the fear in her eyes, even if she tried to hide it. Not fear of death, not fear of being hunted. Fear of herself. What's happening to me? She whispered finally. Reed knelt beside her. I don't know, he said, honest and calm. But I think your bite started something new. Vera shook her head. My people always said it was a curse, that anyone I touched would die in pain. She looked at him, eyes filled with confusion. But you didn't. You got stronger. Reed sat beside her, holding up his wrist. The bite mark had completely healed. In its place was a glowing ring of light beneath his skins. Like the lines in her hands, your venom didn't hurt me, he said. It changed us. Vera stared at it, her voice quiet. Then, we're connected. Reed didn't answer at first. He didn't know how to describe it. He felt it too strange energy inside him ever since the bite. His strength had returned faster. His senses were sharper, his mind clearer. He wasn't just surviving, he was evolving. Suddenly, movement at the door. Reed raised his weapon, but it wasn't another hunter. It was someone else. An old alien woman, dressed in dark robes, entered slowly. She carried a walking staff and moved with careful steps. Her eyes locked on Vera with a deep sadness. Child, she said softly. You live? Vera stood up quickly. Alert, Elder Haya, she said, shocked. You came? The old woman nodded. I felt it. The venom has shifted. The curse is no longer poison. She looked at Reed, studying him. You're the reason, she said. You survived the bite, didn't you? Reed nodded. I did. Elder Haya walked closer and lowered herself to sit beside Vera. You were never cursed, she whispered. You were born different. Yes, but that difference was a signal. Vera's hands trembled. I don't understand, she said. All my life, I was told I was dangerous. The elder looked up at the cracked ceiling of the tower. There is a legend, she said, that one would be born with deadly blood, but that the blood would change if it touched one from the outer stars. One not of our kind, she turned to Reed. You are the outer star. Human? Reed frowned. You're saying this was fate? The old woman nodded. Your survival was no accident. Her bite did not kill you because your body accepted the change. And in doing so, it transformed her. Vieira's voice was low. What does that make me now? The elder smiled faintly. It makes you the bridge, she said. Between our people and his, before anyone could speak more. The sound of hovercrafts filled the air outside. Reed's rescue team had arrived, armored, and shocked. To see the wreckage, his commander stepped out, eyes narrowing as he looked at Vera. Is that the one who bit you? He asked. Reed stood tall, placing himself between them. She saved my life, he said. She's not the threat. The soldiers looked confused, but they trusted Reed. He was one of their best. Slowly, they lowered their weapons. Vera turned to Elder Haya. What happens now? She asked. The elder looked at Reed. That depends on him. Reed understood. Vieira's people still feared her. The galaxy might fear her too, but with a human standing beside her. The story could change. Vera stepped forward, her voice steady. Let them fear me, she said, but they will never chain me again. Then she looked at Reed. I bit you thinking it would kill you, she said, but it gave us both. Something new, Reed smiled. A connection, he said, that no one expected, and, deep in the jungle, where legends once whispered of death, a new tale was being born. One of a girl whose bite could end life, but gave birth to something more powerful than anyone had ever seen. Hope. The forest burned behind them. Smoke curled through the air, thick and dark. Reed and Vera stood at the edge of the tower, looking down the ridge as a group of alien soldiers approached. They weren't part of the hunting squad. These were clan enforcers, armored warriors from Vieira's home. They had come not just to catch her, but to end her. Publicly, Elder Haya stood between them. Leaning on her staff, you must go, she said to Vera. They will not listen to reason, not yet. They believe you carried the plague. And the human who survived you must be destroyed too. Reed stepped forward. Let them try, he said calmly. We're not running anymore. The jungle floor shook with each step the enforcers took. There were at least 20 of them. In red-black armor, their weapons glowing, they spread out. Forming a wide circle around the tower, a voice boomed from the front line. This is the final call. Surrender the cursed one and her infected human, or be erased under clan law. Reed looked at Vera. She was breathing hard, her eyes glowing golden again. She whispered, They brought the blood law. What does that mean? Reed asked. It means they won't stop until either I die. Or they do, she said, her voice hollow. Reed turned to his team. His commander asked quietly, You sure you want to stand with her? Reed didn't hesitate. She saved my life. She's not the danger here. Then the old woman, Elder Haya, stepped out. Her voice was clear, despite her age. She is no longer cursed, she shouted. She has changed. The venom is no longer death, it is life. But the enforcers didn't move. Their leader raised his weapon. Then she must prove it by spilling blood. Vera shook her head. No, she said. I'm not killing for them, Reed whispered. You don't have to. Show them what your bite really does now. The enforcers' charged energy blades lit the jungle like lightning. Reed and his team opened fire, but aimed only to stun. They weren't trying to kill. They were trying to survive. Vera ran forward, her hands glowing bright. One enforcer came at her fast. She dodged and bit his arm. He screamed, but not in pain. He dropped his weapon and collapsed, breathing hard. Then his skin began to glow. Look, someone shouted. His wounds began to close. The soldier sat up, dazed. I feel stronger, he muttered. She healed me. Another enforcer paused mid-charge, shocked. Vera turned to him, her voice calm. I'm not a monster anymore. Your laws are wrong, and I won't let you hurt people in the name of fear." But their commander wasn't convinced. He raised a massive plasma cannon. "She must die," he hissed. "She is the sign of broken prophecy." He fired. Dreed leaped in front of Vera. The blast hit him square in the chest. "No?" Vera screamed, catching him as he fell. He was still breathing, but barely. The golden light in his wrist flickered. She looked up, eyes blazing now. She walked straight into the line of fire. Glowing brighter than ever, the ground shook beneath her feet. The air buzzed around her body like lightning. Then she roared, not with pain, but with power, and slammed her hands into the earth. A golden wave blasted from her body. The jungle lit up, trees shaking, every weapon in the enforcers' hands shorted out, their armor cracked, but none of them died. Instead, they dropped to their knees, gasping, stunned but alive. Her light faded slowly, and silence followed. Vera fell beside Reed, placing her hand over his chest. Her bite mark on him lit up again, and slowly. His eyes opened. "I knew you weren't done," he whispered, with a weak smile. The enforcers stood, confused and shaken. Their leader was still alive, but terrified. He dropped to his knees. "You carry the power of rebirth," he said. "You are." The shifter Elder Haya nodded. The legends were true. She is the one who would destroy the curse, and the human was the key. Reed sat up slowly. "So, what now?" he asked. Vera looked at the crowd of soldiers who had tried to kill her, and she spoke clearly. "Your laws are built on fear. Mine are built on truth. This war ends here. I won't fight you, but I will never let you chain me again." And for the first time, no one argued. They just bowed their heads. The war wasn't over, but the blood didn't have to keep spilling. Not when one bite could change everything. The forest lay quiet. The heat of the battle faded. The enforcers were gone. Some walked away silently. Others stayed behind to watch what would happen next. None dared raise a weapon again, not after what they saw. Vera sat near the edge of the hill, looking down at her glowing hands. The light had stopped pulsing now, but the warmth still lingered under her skin. She had felt something during the fight, something deep, powerful and strange. Not just strength, but connection. Behind her, Reed sat on a rock, wrapping a cloth around his chest where the blast had hit him earlier. His body still ached, but he wasn't dead. Her touch had saved him again. "You shouldn't be standing," Vera said quietly, without turning around. Reed smiled a little. "I shouldn't be alive either. But you've made a habit of breaking the rules." She turned and looked at him. "You're different." "Reed," she said, "no alien has ever survived my venom. No one ever saw me as more than a curse, until you." Reed shrugged. "Maybe your people weren't ready to see the truth." She stood up, walking slowly toward him. "The venom was meant to protect our kind," she said. "That's what the old legends say. It wasn't meant to be a weapon forever." Reed raised an eyebrow. "But they still locked you in chains. Left you to die." Vera nodded sadly. "They were afraid because I was born different." Reed looked at her glowing wrist. "Different doesn't mean wrong," he said. "It means you were born for something bigger." A sudden voice interrupted them, soft but firm. "Indeed," Elder Haya said as she approached, her old staff tapping lightly against the dirt. "You were born for a time of change, Vera, but the change could never begin without the human." Vera looked confused. "What do you mean?" The old woman smiled gently. "Long ago, a vision told of one with death in their bite but life in their heart, and that this power would awaken only when it met a being not of our world. A human." Reed blinked. "Wait, you knew about humans?" Elder Haya nodded. "Not in detail, but the prophecy said, the one who walks without venom in his blood. That could only mean someone outside our biology," Vera whispered. "So, it was fate." No, the elder said. It was choice. You chose not to kill. He chose to help you. That choice broke the curse. Reed stood slowly, looking at both women. What happens now? He asked. Your people still fear her. The clans won't just change their minds because I say so. The old woman nodded. Then you must show them. Not just words proof. Let them see with their own eyes what she can do now. Let them feel her gift. Vieira's face turned pale. They'll never agree to stand before me. They think I'm a monster. Reed looked at her calmly. Then I'll stand beside you. If they come for you, they'll have to go through me. The elder smiled. And that's exactly what will change everything. That night, they returned to the edge of the main village, Vieira's birthplace. The one she had been exiled from as a child. Torches lined the stone path. Warriors stood guard, silent and unsure. Children peeked out from behind their mothers, wide-eyed and whispering. Reed and Vieira walked side by side. He carried no weapon. She carried only the glow in her hands. The clan leaders stood waiting. The high priest, once her judge, looked furious. You bring her here like she is royalty, he spat. She carries poison in her blood. No, Reed replied. She carries power that your people don't understand. And she saved my life more than once. The priest pointed at Reed's wrist. If you speak truth, then let us test it. Let her bite me if I live. I will kneel. Vieira gasped. I don't want to hurt anyone, Reed whispered. You won't, with a shaky breath. She stepped forward. The priest removed his armor and bared his arm. His people held their breath. Vieira looked into his eyes, then gently bit him, not to attack, just enough to let the venom touch his blood. Seconds passed. Everyone waited. The priest's knees buckled. But then he stood tall. The glow spread up his arm, and his face changed from fear to peace. I feel strong, he said, stunned, clear. Like my mind is no longer clouded. He turned to the crowd. Voice trembling, she is not cursed. She is chosen. The people gasped. Some began to kneel. Others cheered. A few wept silently. Reed looked at Vieira. You've just rewrote your people's future. She smiled slowly. No. We did it together, and in that moment, the human who should have died became the one who saved an entire species. The fires of war were gone. The old stories of fear, of curses, of venom that killed were starting to fade, and in their place, new voices were rising, voices that spoke of hope, of healing, of a human and a girl once chained to a rock. Now, Vieira stood at the center of her village, surrounded not by guards or hunters, but by her people. Some watched in silence, still unsure. Others stepped forward, bowing their heads not in fear, but in respect. The high priest, the same man who had once sentenced her to die, stood beside her with glowing hands, his face no longer twisted with hate. Your venom is not a curse, he said loudly, so all could hear. It is the bond of rebirth, and he, the priest pointed to Reed, is proof that the bond can cross worlds. Reed stood next to Vieira, quiet but steady. His wrist still showed the golden mark, and now the light was spreading slowly through his body. Doctors on his team had scanned him earlier. The results shocked them. His cells were changing. Faster healing, sharper focus, higher endurance. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was evolution. The village elders gathered near, whispering among themselves. One stepped forward. An old woman with scales on her cheeks. Vieira, she said, we ask for a final truth. If your venom now brings life, then share it, not to harm, but to heal. Vieira hesitated. What do you mean? Bite the sick, she said. There are those here we cannot cure, if your gift is real. Let them rise. Vieira turned to Reed. He nodded slowly. You've come this far. Don't stop now. The first was a child barely 5 years old. Her body was shaking. Covered in thin gray lines, a rare sickness, incurable by clan medicine, her mother held her tightly, tears in her eyes. "I will not blame you," she whispered. "If she dies." Vera knelt beside the child. She took the girl's small hand, leaned forward, and gently pressed her glowing teeth to the skin just a scratch. The venom entered. The child didn't cry. She just stopped shaking. Her breathing steadied. The gray faded. And then the girl opened her eyes and smiled. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Some fell to their knees. Others began sobbing in joy. The healer, who had tried for months to save the girl, dropped his tools and wept openly. "She is the gifted one," he said, "chosen by the stars." After that, everything changed. The village elders declared a new law. Vera was no longer an exile. She was now first healer, a title never perverse, a title never given to one so young and read. He was offered something even rarer, citizenship among their kind, and a sacred bond with Vera. If he chose it, what does it mean? He asked her later that night. She looked at him under the stars, her voice soft. In our culture, when someone survives the bite of soul, they are forever linked to the one who bit them. Reed chuckled. "Forever's a long time." Vera looked away shyly. "You don't have to say yes," she whispered. "I won't be angry." Reed touched her hand. "You saved me, Vera. You changed me, not just my body, but everything inside me too." He leaned closer. "Where I come from, we don't have bonds like yours. But I want this one, and with the stars above them." And the jungle now calm behind them, Reed and Vera sealed the bond not with fire or blood, but with quiet understanding. The next day, a new stone was placed in the center of the village. On it was carved the story of the girl once feared, and the human who refused to fear her. Children gathered around it every morning, whispering the tale, trying to glow like she did, trying to be brave like he was, and far beyond the jungle, in human colonies and alien cities alike. The story spread, not as myth, but as truth, that sometimes the most dangerous things in the galaxy are not weapons or ships, but ideas, and the most powerful of all is the idea that two people from two worlds can change everything, all because of one bite and one bond. Asterisk.